I'm Josh Bernstein, and I'm a CGO.
Always saying guitars are playing a part of who we are. Got a cool job, but there's so much more to the chairmen and women of the pedal board. You're a CGO, Chief Guitar Officer.
The show where success meets guitar.
Welcome to Chief Guitar Officer. I'm Scott Haidt.
And I'm Judd Silver. Scott, you remember when we were kids, growing up, Kiss was absolutely huge, right?
Huge.
Do you remember when Kiss did the Kiss comic book?
Of course, yeah.
And supposedly they all put their blood into the ink and it was like a big controversy. Remember that?
That's right. It was a big controversy. I remember in elementary school, in that cafeteria, I remember seeing that comic book and I remember seeing the lunch boxes. And It was awesome.
It was huge. Our guest today was that kid growing up, loving rock and roll, loving comics, eventually learning how to play guitar, play in bands, play bass, but actually figured out the magic trick of turning that into a career, getting jobs in the music world, in music magazines, guitar magazines. He has created heavy metal award shows, the Golden Gods Awards. He has a TV show on AXSTV called The Power Hour. He now runs a successful comics company called Z2 Comics. One of those people that's figured out how to follow his passion. Just an amazing all-around dude. I'm really excited to have him on. Who's our guest today?
We're excited to welcome Josh Bernstein, CGO.
All right. TV producer and host, music and comics publisher, media superhero, and CGO, Josh Bernstein. Welcome to Chief Guitar Officer.
Wow. Thank you, guys. So good to be here.
It's great to have you, man.
I'm going to have Judd introduce me every time I walk in a room somewhere.
What is your day like today, Josh? What do you have going on today?
Today, and right after this, we're launching the Z2, my comic company. We're launching the third in our Bruce Dickinson book series. Comes out today, the Mandrake Project. So we're launching that. And then everything else is preparing for next week's. I start traveling next week, but in 2 weeks, San Diego Comic-Con, which is like our Super Bowl and big end of year, shebang for comics. So looking forward to that.
I know you're always working on lots of different things.
It's so funny. I feel like in this day and age, everyone has the day job and the side hustle and the side hustle. And in my case, with Z2 Comics, that was my side hustle for years while I was working in the publishing business. This company was really formed in bosses' offices when they're out of town, when I snuck in there and used their offices to make calls and broom closets. So the side hustle became the real hustle. And now I have side hustles to those main hustles, I guess. So yeah, I mean, right now the path, I think a lot of people since the pandemic is like, you could be gone tomorrow, right? So like do exactly what you love and try not to do anything you don't want to do. Trying to really focus on things I wanted to do: music, comics, wrestling, everything I was told I couldn't do as an adult. Trying to have, dare I say, fun with work. So that's mostly been the main focus and seeing how far it could all go.
We know your work as a TV host, Access, Power Hour, No Cover, Hit Parader, co-creator of the Golden Gods Awards. What took you to that spot?
Well, I grew up here in New York, and I started working in the city as a teenager at Marvel Comics as an internship. And I wanted to become a comic book artist. Still do. And when I got there, I got to learn what marketing was and sales and, all types of business and publishing. And my mother, who just retired, is a lifer in the media business. So I grew up always, finding magazines, newspapers always to be like a magical place that I wanted to be a part of, and was part of it until the world decided we don't want magazines anymore. And I'm still printing shit. It's actually a good challenge, right? Now my challenge for our company is, well, we are going to print something. It can't be disposable, right? That was the crime of working in publishing my whole life, was like, it's successful. We sold 30%. I'm like, 70% in the garbage. It was really weird. So when I used to do my zine back in the day, now when we make our books, I say, is it shelf worthy? Is it coffee table worthy? We want to own your coffee table. We do graphic novels with rock stars, now comedians and directors and other MCs, what have you. I sort of whispered in a lot of friends' ears, like, you've already created your own Marvel or Star Wars universe with your albums. It's already there. Let's try to bring it to life. And from that point on, like that old commercial, right? He told a friend and he told a friend. And pretty soon, we've done about 75 different projects already.
That's amazing. Do you think, a similar story to vinyl and its resurgence, collectibles and whether they're on your shelf or on a table, you've sensed that and felt that?
The Venn diagram between our customers and vinyl customers is a big old circle.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I actually will look at an artist, because people all the time are like, why don't you do a comic with that person or this person? Why aren't you working with Kiss? Or why aren't you working with this person? And sometimes, even to my own staff, will say, like, do you want to read that? And they're like, right. And it's a really fair question, right? It's a really honest, fair question. I'll bring up like a Kiss or like, the Misfits or something like that, who if you're a Kiss fan, you're not like, I hate comic books, that's beneath me. Like, then I don't think you're going to like Kiss. They've trained their audience for years to appreciate and understand, it's escapism. It's what drew me to rock and roll and metal, right? It's my day job, my 9-to-5 job is tough. I want to punch that clock and go into a mosh pit and punch somebody, not out of violence, out of, just release, that's how I looked at, a lifetime ago when I was in a band. Like, I get to go into a rehearsal space in the Lower East Side 3 times a week and turn it to 11 and let the work day's stress out, through an amplifier, which was always nice. So I had met Judd originally, through the magazine business. And at that point in my career, I was always I was an art director and a creative director. For my own zine, I would always do interviews and publish myself and sell ads and do all the things you have to learn that you don't sign up for. What's circulation, what's distribution, what's this, when I grew up, I don't think, Hugh Hefner wasn't bragging about circulation and distribution and ad sales. He was at a mansion with women. You learn all those things. And I really realized that I was very comfortable talking to, and really enjoyed talking to musicians and artists and asking them some of the left of center questions, and I bring up Hefner because eventually, years later, I befriended the guy, and I sent him my zines, and he was,
wow.
He's like, these are great. Come by the mansion and let's hang out, and I was like, what the heck? So, because everyone else is probably like asking him to swim in the grotto, or I was quite the opposite. I wanted to ask how he funded Playboy and how he raised that money, which in fact was done by being a comic book artist. He took his money from being an illustrator.
Really?
And then eventually, it's a weird thing to say in the 1950s, but I guess he like put his furniture in hock, and then with that money bought the Marilyn Monroe photos that we now know are the famous Marilyn Monroe photos. But I was more curious about his birth as a publisher, and how he started. I'm bringing all this up is that I became very comfortable talking to the artists and doing stuff. And when I was at the magazines, we started going to festivals, and there was nobody there to go on camera to do the interviews. So I just happened to know how to work a camera and do the interviews. So I was cheaper. And Danny Wimmer, who, is an incredible independent producer of festivals, #1 independent producer of music festivals in the country here, a couple of years ago, gave us a Twitch show with Matt Pinfield, my co-host, and Caity from Sirius XM. So I've been able to do both the last 2 years. So we get to do the TV show weekly. It's on AXSTV. We're between seasons right now. And we're basically like the ESPN Sports Center of all festivals. We go backstage and I ask the rock stars what's their game plan and how they're going to bring it home and how they're going to win today. And
Love it, man.
Really fun stuff.
And it's all coming from your passion. Yeah.
100%.
Right.
And at this point, it overlaps together. I feel, in a weird way, for years I worked at a company. I was like, to some people, that was my last name. When I was in a band for a bit, that's my last name in certain people's cell phones still.
Right.
And there was nothing better, obviously a couple years ago, 11 and a half years ago, having a kid, and being like, oh, you're not this person who works at this job, you're someone's dad.
Through this work, I'm sure you've had experiences of finding ways to give back. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, one of my favorite ones that I've done over the years, Gibson Guitars or Epiphone and Gibson have been a wonderful client, partner, friend. confidant, so many great things in my life. And we did a program a couple years ago where we sort of staged this at a Wimmer festival, but I set up different signings for artists at the festival. In one case, it was Halestorm. And me and my buddy Squiggy runs something called the Music Experience. You should have him on. He's the CEO of the Music Experience. It's like basically a living, breathing guitar center at music festivals. 60 by 80 tent. And the best thing about it is you could go in there at a festival and turn that shit to 11 and shred your balls off and have a great time. So we set up the signing, which was real, but I knew it would attract a bunch of people. Then we found our mark on the line, which was this 10-year-old girl and her mother. And I said, hey, I saw you online, saw your T-shirt. She got to meet Lizzie in the band. And then afterwards I said, hey, Lizzie, loved meeting you. She wanted to know if you wanted to come back and say hi before she goes on stage. And her and her mom were like, okay. So we go backstage, like, yeah, the band wants to say hi to you. So we go into the dressing room. The band's hyping her up. They're having a good time. They take photos. I said, why don't you come watch from the stage? We get on stage. Lizzie performs. We stash an extra. So Lizzie has a signature Gibson Artist Series guitar. It's like a cool Explorer type of guitar. And in the middle of Sonic Temple Festival, 40,000 people out there, she goes, hey guys, I want you to meet somebody. I have a special friend here. Oh,
wow.
And she brings the girl out. Awesome. And we pan to the cameras. She's like, the mom's freaking out. She's freaking out. I am making the most grizzled roadies and security guards cry. They're like, this is so beautiful. She goes out there. She waves to the crowd. She goes, hold on. I don't think I need this anymore. And takes off her guitar.
Oh my God.
And then gives it to the girl. And then we followed her the whole rest of the way and then interviewed her after. But we ended up doing this like a lot. We did it with Shinedown. Our goal was, I was trying to solve a problem for all guitar companies, which, Judd, you've had this dilemma for years. You could sell a guitar, but how do you keep it from going under the bed next to the Bowflex for the next 20 years, right?
That's right.
How do we get someone over that first couple weeks hump so they become a player and they just don't give up and throw it away or say it's too hard?
Right.
And I thought if I rocked someone's world so hard and then said the exact thing, and it made Lizzie say, you have to play it. Or when the Shinedown guys said, you got to learn how to play this. The point of all the stories, I still am in touch with the mother and the daughter. She's about to graduate high school now, and she still plays. And like I have stayed in touch with a lot of these kids or parents, whatever, what have you, contest winners over the years. One of them now interns for me on the Power Hour.
That's amazing.
That is awesome. That's really cool.
You mentioned the through line in your career and tying that together with this, where you're really making an impact on a young person's life and getting them involved in music and guitar playing. What is your earliest memory of having that? Like, when did you first notice, wow, the guitar really had an impact on me?
I'm a little too young. I didn't see the Beatles on Sullivan or something like that. But
right.
My Beatles on Ed Sullivan was Michael J. Fox in Back to the Future.
Oh, perfect.
Wow.
Perfect.
I saw
so
that.
many people. That's a great answer.
That's a big one.
My parents took me to I think we started a drive-in in Lake George. And I was like, who the hell is Chuck Berry? Who's Marvin Berry?
Right.
I to this day, I hear Johnny Be Good and get excited. Yeah, that was probably it. I grew up at the, as a kid with, at the height of Van Halen and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But for me, it was probably, it was probably.
And that red 335, that like bright red.
It's bigger than him. That was the one the Enchantment Under the Sea dance, 1955 was what changed my life.
Love it.
Big moment. And to that point on that guitar, there's always a little bit of controversy of what guitar they used in that filming wasn't quite out yet.
Oh, okay. Right? Is that true?
For the real guitar nerds, like, hold on a second.
But did they go Back to the Future and bring it back?
Back to the Future 4, the Gibson era. All right. So speaking of so you see Back to the Future, that was a big moment for you. When did you start playing?
Yeah, so I grew up with, my dad had a guitar in the house growing up, an acoustic. It's still here in the house somewhere. I've confiscated it. So he taught me a couple rudimentary things, Gloria by them, heard it through the grapevine, Hey Jude, just whatever he was learning to impress my mom. And then I don't think I learned a guitar riff until high school, and that probably would have been like Nirvana. And I didn't start playing I didn't learn. I know it sounds crazy. I didn't get a bass till I was 25, and I was working at Time Out in New York, downtown New York. And my parents asked me what I wanted for my birthday. I was like, just get me like a cheap bass. My roommate was a guitarist, an awesome guitarist. I said, get me a bass so I could just jam with him and learn. So I could learn Zeppelin and Aerosmith and Black Sabbath and Deep Purple. Whatever. We were classic rock guys. And within three months, we were at CBGB's. And then I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. And we did that for like, not that long, 4 or 5 years. And we got to play around the New York circuit, but I was always it had to be Fender or Gibson. Like everything else didn't seem like a real thing to me. Mm-hmm. Sort of still feels that way.
Yeah, we want to talk to you a little bit about that.
The one right there, that's my favorite. My wife bought me that. Wayne Kramer, who recently passed away from the MC5. He's like a top 5 guy for me of all time, and MC5 is one of my favorite bands. That was in the window of Ludlow Guitars in Lower East Side when it came out, and I must have gushed or fawned over it every day. And one day for my birthday, that was in my house, and I was like, oh my God. It was right before we got married, because I remember she's like, this, you're never getting an expensive gift like this again. We're gonna have kids.
Can we see it?
Yeah. It's I don't know what year.
Oh, that's so cool.
It was the 40th anniversary that came out. It has this.
They actually did that as a signature model.
Yeah, this tool kills fascists and has all the cool buckle marks and scratches that he had. He had hand painted the original, and I got to become friendly, with Wayne and his wife Margaret, and I got to interview him right before, maybe a couple weeks before he passed away. A couple months ago, which is very sad, but that's more my. I don't care about shredding or alternative tunings or tremolo. I don't know. I like riffs. I like my songs to end. I like my choruses. I like all the my guys are I'm a bass player really, so my guys are more Didi Ramone, Lemmy. Mm-hmm. Sid Vicious. People
there's no Z2 office jam band.
I worked at Guitar World for 10 years, and I'll never forget when I saw the job ad. Listen, must know Photoshop and Quark and Microsoft Word. And it said you were allowed to keep a guitar at your desk. And I went to play. They're like, yeah, we jam. When production slows down, we could jam. And I was like, oh my God. The janitor, the IT guy, the front desk person, we're all playing Black Dog.
Right.
It was awesome.
Right.
And we would have these Christmas parties, and we all took turns, and everyone went up there oh, I know Living After Midnight by Judas Priest. I'll go up and do that. Everyone was great. I was a wild amateur compared to the people that worked there. Jimmy Brown and Paul Riario and those guys. Yeah. I would just sit at their desk and just watch. I always tell the story. It was my first days on the job. I'm like, who the heck is butchering LaGrange in that studio? And I walked in there, and I'm like, holy shit, it's Billy Gibbons warming up.
Yeah, that's a dream job for a guitar player for sure.
It was. I remember Steve Stevens from Billy Idol was there. He's like, well, I didn't know this. I said, oh, can you play the riff to Dancing with Myself? He's like, I didn't write that riff. I said, who wrote the riff? He goes, oh, I said, oh, it's Generation X. He goes, no, Steve Jones wrote that riff. I went,
oh, really?
Didn't know that. Steve Jones going higher on my list. Nerd heaven. It's guitar nerd heaven. I think I had an opinion of Guitar Mag. I'll never forget, because the first magazine I worked on with the cover artist was Dave Grohl, who was doing a Probot record, a metal record, and then Blink-182.
Right.
And I remember just being wildly I would have thought the cover would be Steve Vai and Yngwie Malmsteen. I somehow got roped into. I designed an album cover for Yngwie once. I got to work with Yngwie.
Oh, nice!
And it was right when I was getting married, and we went to a party, and my wife, my fiance, and Yngwie's wife started talking, and she's like, wife comes over, she goes, "This woman said her husband would come and play our wedding." I was like, "No thanks." I was like, "What? What are you doing?" She's like, "We're not having that." I'm like, "But he could play. He could shred you down the aisle."
How many notes can you fit into one wedding?
Where do we find you?
So Z2 Comics, we're z2comics.com and at Z2 are all of our handles. And then at Power Hour Show for that. We should be coming back to AXSTV this fall. And then I'll be at Incarceration Festival next week in Ohio. It's in the Shawshank Redemption prison. Oh, wow. I'll be ghost hunting with I do a ghost hunting show also. So Paranormal Prison coming next. I'm going to take a bunch of bands ghost hunting. And then just, I guess, at Bernstein NYC, I think is my personal handle, but not that exciting. If you want to see pictures of my kids.
Josh, you've created an amazing career all based off of this passion. Thank you for being on the show today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you guys for doing this. Is cool. We got to jam soon.
That's our show. Thanks for watching. And remember to like and subscribe to our channel. Check us out on all the socials at Chief Guitar Officer.
And we want you on the show. Go to chiefguitarofficer.com, look for the section called You're a CGO, send us your video, and be featured on a future episode. Just like this.
Hi there. My name is Rob Kavanaugh. I am Global Integration Lead for PXP and Pfizer at Publicis. I live in Bedford, New York. This is my Rickenbacker 33012, and I am a Chief Guitar Officer.